Reliance just agreed to pay up to $25 million for one oil tanker. Yes, you heard that right. Not to buy the ship, just to use it. And here is what makes this story crazy. Before the current geopolitical crisis, a similar voyage could cost around $2 million. Now it is reportedly costing more than 10 times that amount. So here is the question. Why would one of India's biggest companies voluntarily pay $25 million for transportation? Is Reliance making a terrible business decision? Or is someone at Reliance seeing an opportunity that the rest of the market is missing? Because the answer takes us straight into the Strait of Hormuz, Iraqi oil, Iran, and one of the most fascinating business calculations happening in the energy market right now. Let's break it down. According to Reuters, Reliance has booked a supertanker capable of carrying roughly 2 million barrels of Iraqi crude. The reported freight bill? Approximately $23 to $25 million. For perspective, Reuters reports that before the current crisis, a comparable voyage could cost roughly $2 million. That is an extraordinary increase. But here is where things get interesting. Because Reliance isn't necessarily losing money by paying that freight. In fact, the expensive tanker may be exactly what makes the deal profitable. And to understand why, we have to look at the oil. Iraq has crude oil, lots of it, but getting that oil to international buyers has become much more complicated because of the security situation around the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. And when transportation becomes difficult, something strange happens. The seller may have to lower the price of the product to attract buyers willing to take the risk. That is essentially what we are seeing here. Reuters reports that some Iraqi crude is being offered at discounts of roughly $25 to $30 per barrel against the Dubai benchmark. Now let's do some simple mathematics. The tanker can carry roughly 2 million barrels at a $25 discount per barrel. That is 2 million into $25 is equal to $50 million. At a $30 discount, 2 million into $30 is equal to $60 million. That is a theoretical $50 to $60 million gross price advantage before other costs and adjustments. And suddenly that $25 million tanker doesn't look quite so crazy. Now we reach the real story, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is one of the most important energy choke points on Earth. Huge volumes of oil and gas normally pass through this region. But when geopolitical tensions rise, shipping companies don't simply look at the price of oil. They ask, what are the chances my ship gets damaged, delayed, attacked, or trapped? And if the perceived risk becomes too high, ship owners simply don't want to send their vessels into the region. That creates a supply problem. There may be plenty of oil, but there aren't enough ships willing to carry it. And when the supply of ships collapses, shipping prices explode. Reuters reports that several refiners have been searching for vessels to transport discounted Iraqi crude, while ship owners have been reluctant to send tankers into the region. So Reliance isn't just buying transportation, it is effectively paying a premium for access. Imagine you are running a small refinery. You see a tanker costing $25 million. You might say, forget it, that is insane. But a company like Reliance can look at the entire transaction differently. It doesn't ask, is the tanker expensive? It asks, what is my total cost after buying the discounted oil and transporting it to India? That is a completely different calculation. And this is one of the most important lessons in business. Never optimize one line item in isolation. A cost that looks enormous by itself can make perfect sense when it unlocks a much larger economic advantage. If you pay $25 million in freight but potentially gain access to a much larger crude price discount, the expensive transportation may actually be the cheaper overall option. And this is what makes Reliance different. Reliance isn't simply an oil buyer. It operates one of the world's largest refining complexes at Jamnagar, Gujarat. That scale gives the company enormous flexibility in sourcing crude from different parts of the world. And when markets become distorted, scale can become a competitive advantage. A smaller company might not be able to justify paying extraordinary shipping rates. But a giant integrated energy business can evaluate the entire chain. Buy the oil, charter the ship, transport it, refine it, sell the resulting products, and potentially make the money across the entire system. That is vertical integration in action. And here's the bigger idea. Most people look at geopolitical crisis and see only destruction. Oil prices rise, shipping becomes expensive, insurance premiums increase, supply chains get disrupted, inflation goes up, but sophisticated businesses sometimes see something else: price dislocations. When a market is under extreme stress, different parts of the supply chain don't adjust equally. Oil might become cheaper in one location, shipping might become dramatically more expensive. Some buyers disappear, others become desperate. Insurance costs explode, and suddenly the same barrel of oil can have completely different economics depending on where it is, who owns it, and who can transport it. That is where arbitrage opportunities appear. And that is what makes this Reliance story so fascinating. There is also a much bigger reason this matters to India. India imports a huge share of the crude oil it consumes. So India's energy security isn't simply about having enough oil in the world. It is about being able to access that oil reliably and economically. Can India get the cargo? Can a ship transport it? Can the voyage be insured? Can the refinery process that particular crude? Can the final product be sold profitably? This is why a geopolitical event thousands of kilometers away can eventually affect India's fuel prices, inflation, transportation costs, and even the broader economy. Geography becomes economics, and economics becomes geopolitics. So what can entrepreneurs learn from Reliance's $25 million tanker? Lesson number 1. Don't judge a business decision by one expense. Look at the economics of the entire transaction. Lesson number 2. Risk creates opportunities. When everyone else is afraid to participate, markets can become severely distorted. Lesson number 3. Scale creates options. Large companies can sometimes take positions that smaller competitors simply cannot. And finally, lesson number 4. Supply chains are strategic assets. In today's world, owning the product isn't enough. You need access to transportation, infrastructure, capital, insurance, and alternative suppliers. So, did Reliance really waste $25 million on one tanker? Not necessarily. The real calculation is much more sophisticated. Reliance is potentially paying an extraordinary transportation premium because the underlying crude is available at an extraordinary discount. And that is the lesson. The tanker isn't the opportunity. The price difference is the opportunity. And that tells us something important about the new global economy. Geopolitical crises don't simply create winners and losers. They create distortions, and companies with enough scale, infrastructure, and risk appetite can sometimes turn those distortions into profits. So the next time you see a headline saying geopolitical tensions are disrupting global oil markets, don't just ask how much will oil cost. ask who is making money from the disruption. Because sometimes the biggest opportunities aren't created when markets are stable. They are created when the entire system is under pressure. And Reliance's $25 million tanker may be one of the clearest examples of that happening right now. This is ManishSirG. If you want more stories where we go beyond the headlines and decode the business, money and power behind global events, subscribe to the channel. Because the news tells you what happened. We try to understand why and who benefits. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.